Predator at Six Flags Darien Lake is extremely underrated. For years, this Din Corporation wooden coaster has had the reputation of being painfully rough, and some people consider it to be the worst roller coaster ever built. But due to some good track work, this coaster is running quite well, and it has a shockingly strong layout. In this review, I'm going to go through the entire ride experience so you know what to expect when you go to ride it. Let's talk about the ride's layout. It starts with a small turn onto the lift hill, which takes you to your max height of 95 feet. From there, you take a small left turn and go down the drop, which doesn't really give any airtime. This drop gets you to your top speed of 50 miles an hour, and following the drop is an airtime hill, which does actually provide good airtime. Following that is an elevated left-hand turn, and the transition into this turn gives surprisingly good airtime in the front. I did only ride this coaster in the front though, and that's because on these older wooden coasters, the front row oftentimes gives the smoothest ride. It doesn't make every roller coaster tolerable. Some wooden coasters are just too rough to enjoy in the front, but it makes some coasters like this one surprisingly smooth. You go out of that turn and into another airtime hill, which does give a little airtime. Following this hill is one of the most infamous moments on the entire ride, a turn known as the death turn. This turn was famous for being so painfully rough. Thankfully, this turn received a retracking with GCI's new Titan track, which makes it run glass smooth. Following the death turn is some straight track, which is a little odd, followed by two airtime hills and a turn. By this point, you have lost a lot of speed, so you kind of crawl through this turn and the double down following it. The last airtime hill doesn't give any airtime, and the ride ends with a really slow turn into the brakes. The layout on this ride is surprisingly strong and caught me by surprise when I first rode it. It packs a good amount of airtime into its course, and I didn't find it to be very rough. As previously mentioned, I did only ride this ride in the front, so rows further back may be awful, but if you ride in the front, it's super tolerable. The newly retracked death turn is also the smoothest moment I have ever experienced on a wooden coaster. Something else that should be noted about this coaster is that they were only running one train. It was never longer than a station wait when I was there, but I could see there being a very long line on a busier day. Other than that, the only issue that I have with this ride is that the final few hills were taken super slow, and because of that, they were kind of boring. But overall, Predator is a surprisingly decent wooden coaster. It's a pretty good supporting coaster for the park. Is it the best coaster in the park? No, not really, but it helps the park have a more complete lineup of rides. All in all, I would give Predator a 6.7 out of 10. I think that Predator's reputation as one of the worst roller coasters ever built is completely undeserved. Another coaster that has this reputation is the Ninja at Six Flags St. Louis. I have a whole review on that coaster right there.